everybody, and welcome to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 216. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside my special guest host, Mr. Travis Gibb.
Hello, hello. Why am I slumming it here? I mean, why am I the guest host of honor?
So, everybody, Mike is off doing some international business, as he is one to do, and actually he's visiting family. It's his mother's birthday, so happy birthday to Mama Ricker.
See, I like the international business better. Like, I like to think that he's a Japanese businessman, like, making shady deals with the Yakuza.
So, I don't want to give too much away, but at one point he honestly was doing international travel, so we had a polling guest host to fill for him. But with the world as it is today, that's not the case right now. But he is starting to do some business stuff again, so I'll be pulling in more guest hosts like yourself, Travis.
Awesome! I'd love to be here anytime. I love talking to your audience.
So, everybody, this week we do have a guest interview as well. We're bringing back Richard Fairgray of Blastosaurus fame. Let's talk with him. We'll get into that later. But in the meantime, Travis, how you been?
I have been well. I've been well. I've had a rough couple of days. I went to my first big con. So there was a con out in Pensacola because, Florida doesn't care about COVID. So we have no problem bringing 8,000 people into a room. No problem at all. So that was good. I got to sit at the Scout booth, and I learned a lot from Scout. And then, last week I picked up all the broke down and 4 dead bodies. So I just right before the show, filled out your envelope to send it out on Tuesday.
Nice. Yeah, I actually just signed on to do my first con. That's not going to be till August. But we're making our way there up here in New York too, so don't feel too bad. Which one you got in
August? What one is it?
Is Anchor Con in I think it's Clinton, New York, which is right outside of the city. Okay. I'll have more details about that later. I am talking with the guy who's running it right now. But yeah,
is it a 1 day, 2 day show?
So I believe it's a 2 day show. I'm going to be there for 1 day.
Okay.
That's all I can swing, and it looks like I'm going to be tabling. We're going to be doing some Fortress stuff. We're going to try to sell some comics as well, and hopefully have a good time. I'm looking forward to cons being back.
Yeah. Well, I think they should have you out as just Fortress Cons News and let you interview people and let you guys have a table, maybe do a panel.
We're doing a little bit of that too. So I'm going to, as usual, try to stretch myself thin and do 5 different things. But yeah, Nice. We're going to be talking to a few people. A friend of the show, David Whalen's going to be there, so I'm going to get to finally meet him in person and sit down and talk to him, as well as some others. So I'm looking forward to that. But Travis, not to waste too much of your time, how about we jump right into the news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so everybody's excited for this. The Green Lantern show coming to HBO Max has found its Alan Scott. Actor Jeremy Irvin is going to portray the role. So you're asking me who's Jeremy Irvin, right? Well, I know you're a big fan of this movie. You probably know him. His best known for his portraying young Sam in Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
So let me get this straight. Not even the original Mamma Mia, it's the sequel.
Yes.
Which as you know, I'm a huge fan of a movie that I didn't like getting a second one that I also probably would like. I have no idea who this guy is, nor do I ever want to watch Mamma Mia ever again. I hate ABBA.
So, yeah, I'm not familiar with this guy either. He's done a bunch of, bit roles here and there. It seems like Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again was his first big thing. What I'm most interested in is what the hell this Green Lantern show is, because this guy's really young, and to be playing Alan Scott, are we rewriting Alan Scott? Is this going to be period piece where we flash back to the 40s? What are we doing here with Alan Scott? So...
I don't know. In fact, I was just, I don't know if you heard the big news, and I don't even know if this is on your news, that, what's his name? Joshua Williamson did a hit piece on G5. Did you hear about this?
Yes, actually. So, was this the Bleeding Cool article?
Well, it was a Bleeding Cool article, but it was actually an interview for a podcast called Word Balloons.
Yes, so I listened to Word Balloon the actual episode, so yes, I am familiar with this.
Yeah, me too. So I listened to it, and did you get to the Alan Scott stuff where they were talking about trying to figure out how to make him gay after the fact and like keep that standard? It was very fascinating. I'm kind of wondering where they're going to go with it in the TV show, because the big thing was all these superheroes knew he was gay, but they didn't want to like out him. And like it's all been a big secret. I thought that was an interesting betrayal and something unique for if you're going to add gay characters and change characters to be gay, let them have that. Like, I've been hiding it with you guys for a long time, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I will say at one point I fell in the camp of like, why change this character to be gay? Much like John Suntress, the host of that show, was in.
Yeah.
And I had that same feeling when he was explaining to it that John did. And I was like, that makes sense. That actually is interesting. That like he's been gay this whole time. He's just been hiding it, which is something that I'm sure the LGBTQ community can relate with, especially a character who's been around since the 40s, maybe not being able to come out like he wanted to. So I'm interested in that too, like to see where they take it with this live action version of the character, as well as the comics version, to see where these stories take us. So it's just proof that maybe your first... Right? What's that?
I said, especially when we compare it to Iceman, right? So Iceman was outed by his younger self, and then he got angry at everybody. Like, it's a very different, like, comic booky way. Like, that just, like, that doesn't happen in real life, right?
Yes. But I like to say there, too, like, that's a good reminder to everybody out there that, like, your first reaction to something doesn't need to be your final reaction. Like, we can kind of grow and realize that, oh, man, there is a cool story idea here. There is a reason for this to happen. It's not just, like... But, yeah, I'm looking forward to that show, whatever it is.
Me, too. I'm a huge Green Lantern's Corpse fan. Like, I don't like, even when Grant Morrison took over, I was just like, there's not enough corpse in it. Like, now the corpse is back together, I'm like, oh, I'll read it again.
Yeah, I've said a bunch of times, I bought this book called Alan Moore's Stories from the DC Universe, and it's like everything he did in DC in continuity or whatnot. And some of the best stuff in that book is his Green Lantern Corps stuff, where he just takes random characters and talks about them. I love that stuff. Moving over to the competition, Marvel's Secret Invasion continues to grow over at Disney+. It was announced this week that Christopher McDonald will be joining the cast in a yet-to-be-announced role. Although Christopher McDonald as a veteran actor has been in many things, I think his most important role is as Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. What do you think about this?
Well, I'm super excited about it, especially Secret Wars, especially if you looked at, watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, and you're like, some characters acting very weird. What's that all about? So, yeah, absolutely. I love that character. I love everything he does, that actor, I mean. Happy Gilmore. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I'm trying to think of, he was in a TV show, too, where he was after something. I'm trying to think of which one it was.
If you go to IMDb, his list is pretty big.
It's crazy.
He's been around for a while. But yeah, whenever I see his face, I always think Shooter McGavin, but that's how my brain works, I guess. But once again, like, this Secret Invasion show, like, what the hell is this? There's been so many additions to the cast. I just want to know more about it. And so far, Marvel is batting 1,000 on these TV shows, on Disney+, that is. So bring it. It's going to be great. I know it is.
Yeah, I mean, really, even S.H.I.E.L.D., though it was bad, like, the only thing that was really kind of a miss is Cloak and Dagger, in my opinion. Like, Runaways, I can get why people didn't like it, but, like, I wouldn't say it was a dud, but, like, Cloak and Dagger, I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, so I'm kind of referring to the Kevin Feige Marvel TV, which has been WandaVision and...
Okay.
I don't really count S.H.I.E.L.D., although I did enjoy S.H.I.E.L.D. I understand its critiques and the people don't like it. I'm not going to defend it, but I enjoyed it. I did not watch Cloak and Dagger because I just didn't care. I liked Runaways. That actually made me a fan of the Runaways. So okay. I'll defend that show.
Yeah, I felt it started out, the first 2 seasons were good. I think it was 3 seasons, right? That 3rd season was the rough one.
Yeah, I remember the third. I don't even think I finished the 3rd season, actually, but that first season was just so good. I really liked it. And as somebody that didn't read that comic, like, that twist kind of really worked for me. So
Yeah.
but yeah, Loki's around the corner. I can't wait. So yeah, let's move on to movies. Movie news. This one's interesting. It looks like Sony has found its leading man for the solo Kraven the Hunter movie. Why are we making a Kraven the Hunter movie? Actor Aaron Taylor Johnson will play Sergei Kravinoff, a.k.a. Kraven the Hunter, in the movie. We all know Aaron not only as Kick-Ass from the movies Kick-Ass, but also as Quicksilver from Age of Ultron. So he's well known in the comics community.
Sure.
Yeah. Any opinions on Kraven the Hunter?
So I have always felt that Kraven the Hunter should have been one of these Spider-Man villains. You know, like if I was doing the Amazing Spider-Man with the Lizard, I would have totally had Kraven there hunting both Spider-Man and the Lizard. Like, it just makes logical sense. It would have been fun. But, you know, Sony does this. You know, when Sony's left to do their own things, they make stupid shit like Morbius. Like, nobody's demanding a Morbius movie, I promise you. Nobody has been like, hey, Morbius has never successfully done more than 12 issues of a comic book. And that was in the 90s when people got 50. Like Darkhawk, it's well renowned that book did not make profit and continued to make books. And Morbius was so bad, they're like, no, we can't even do that. So, I mean, they're leading to some Sinister Six thing is what it appears to be. And, like, it's a weird, I don't know why they want to do this, why they want to stockpile, you know, these stuff. And if everything's that we're hearing about, you know, what is it? No Way Home?
Yes.
Yeah, No Way Home. Like, you are jam-packing this movie again, Sony. Every time you do this, you lose. Every time. Stop. Don't do it.
What I don't get is, so the Venom movie was, I'll say, I went into that movie expecting dog shit, and I got, like, kind of a polished turd, so I was happy with it.
Right.
But you gave over, you know, you're doing Spider-Man with the MCU, you're playing nice.
Right.
Just let them do their thing. Like, don't confuse the market anymore. Like you said, like Venom, I kind of get doing a solo movie, although I think it would have worked better if you just let the MCU do it and then spin it out. Right. But, yeah, these other ones, Kraven, like, I love Kraven as a character. I think it'd be great in the movie, but as a solo character. And then just to make it worse, you take an already existing MCU actor and put him in the role just to confuse people further. I don't understand this. Especially with the rumors flying around that we're going to talk about later, but I don't understand it one bit.
Yeah, I mean, Sony makes bad decision after bad decision, and I can't understand how they work so closely with Marvel going, oh, you're fixing our franchise, look at this, and like, but look at all the things we're doing. They're like, no, I don't want to look at the things you're doing. Like, why are you doing that? Venom, I have not found one person to say Venom was a good movie, because it's not a good movie. We just really like Venom, like as a culture of fans. So we're like, all right, it's fine. You gave us Venom, and he's the right size. We're happy. Like, that's it. Because no one looked at the Carnage trailer and was like, wow, Venom's cooking for Eddie Brock? That is always what I wanted to see in a movie. I'm so excited for this.
My favorite part of that trailer, and I believe I said it in the show already, but my favorite part of that trailer was like when he walks into the convenience store at the end of it, and he's mad because it doesn't have chocolate bars. And that was just me being like, that's such a 90s comics thing. I love it.
Right.
Do it. But yeah, get your shit together, Sony.
Well, and it's funny when you get those 90s things, like in the Donnie's Cates run where he casually explains why he eats brains, like what nutrients he needs. Like those things are funny. Those are great. Like, why can't we stick to like very smart ways to acknowledge the 90s, but continue to move forward?
Yeah. Well, there's always some good in any era, but like one of the things we lost from the 90s was the sense of fun.
Right.
And I think we tried to be like kind of edgy 90s in the 90s because it was the 90s, but we did lose some of that fun in the process because when we got into the 2000s, especially after Marvel's bankruptcy and what DC was doing, it just got real serious real quick. And I like that some of these creators now that have grown up with that are kind of bringing it back a little bit, like you said with Donnie. But
well, Donnie, and I mean, like, I think the reason why Nightwing is so fun right now is because it's fun. Like, Nightwing has been put in these ringers for so long. Like, just seeing Nightwing, having a good time, spending a bunch of money, buying kids pizza, and having a dog. I mean, that's all I've ever wanted. I didn't realize that I wanted it. And it worked for Hawkeye. It's the same plot for Hawkeye. Give him a dog, let him hang out at an apartment. Like, clearly that's just what we want. Like, all of us are in our 40s. We're like, we just want to relate to these guys. We're like, yeah, great.
Exactly. So, Robert Kirkman, his list of accomplishments have grown this week. It was announced that the Godzilla vs. King Kong director Adam Wingard has signed on to direct an adaptation of the 2019 comic series Hardcore by Robert Kirkman and Mark Silvestri. Did you read Hardcore?
I did not, which is weird because I was a huge Shadowhawk fan, so I don't know why I didn't read Hardcore. I think I just never saw it.
So I definitely read it. I definitely have it. It's in a box somewhere. I do not remember the series one bit. But I'll just say good for Kirkman. Like, it's a guy I really like in the industry, both as a professional and as a writer, and I'm glad that he's getting some success. But it's crazy that whatever that dude touches seems to be a gold mine now.
Well, even more so, like, Kirkman's the only one who really cares about us. Like, really, like, because he's got to the level of fame, and it was like, hey, comic stores are dying. Here's Negan Lives. I didn't want to do Walking Dead, but here you go. Like, just stuff like that. Like, stand-up dude printed it, paid for it, and just gave it to people because he knows where he comes from. I mean, no one has done that. Todd McFarlane's not going to go, hey, let's do a charity Spider-Man issue, and I'll write Spider-Man. Todd's not going to do that. Like, but Kirkman would. Kirkman would go back to the well to do something good for people. You know, he's just a good dude.
Yeah. So I'll be interested. I might have to go back to see what that book was all about to get more insight on it. But yeah, that was one that came out left field for me. And this one's interesting. So this week, Amazon announced that it signed a deal to purchase legendary movie studio MGM for over $8 billion. That's billion with a B. Dollars. What most affects our audience in this conversation is the James Bond franchise, which Amazon will not own, because although MGM does produce and release the 007 movies, they're not the IP holders. The IP holders is a company called Eon Productions. This means that the next Bond movie coming out will still hit its theatrical release, will not be a Prime exclusive or anything like that, and that anything moving forward with James Bond has to have approval from the IP holder, Eon Productions. That means they can't just go and make another movie or a TV show or anything. They have to go through the IP holder. This has been everywhere this week. It's not very comic related, but a lot of people are talking about it. Anything you have to say on MGM?
Well, I mean, it does get, Legendary does control the IP for Jurassic World, Pacific Rim, it controls some of the Godzilla stuff, licensing anyways, all the Stargate stuff, so it's still a good purchase without, Bond, in my opinion. It doesn't have any, modern hits, but it has a lot of old good hits. So I think, with the right studio and Amazon behind it, funding it, I think there's some cool stuff that could come out.
Yeah, I was reading, one of the studios does Handmaid's Tale. They have hits. They have big things. I couldn't find much that really affected our audience outside of Bond, and that's mostly because I'm just such a huge Bond fan. But it's just interesting.
Man. Stargate. Everyone loves Stargate. I mean, someone loves Stargate.
My father is a huge Stargate fanatic.
I like Stargate. Me and your dad can jam. We can talk about Stargate.
I remember that movie. I watched that movie when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's just because of the age I was and everything, but never got into the TV show as it was going. But I remember that show was on all the time in my house.
Yeah, I had one of those friends who just was stubborn and wanted to be different. So he was like, I hate Star Trek. I hate Star Wars. I'm going to like Stargate. And all that. And I remember pretending I hated Stargate just because I couldn't let this asshole And then when I moved away to Florida, I was like, I'm going to watch this series. And then I went all in, watched it all, and it's fun. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's fun.
Yeah, it seems like a fun idea. A gate that can basically go anywhere. Let's go. Like,
get Egyptians. In the concept, one of the coolest concepts of it versus other sci-fi shows is basically Earth is where humans are from. And the aliens came and they just dropped humans off all over the universe to populate because they populate like rabbits. So I liked that concept a lot. The reason why you see humans out in the galaxy is because they steal them from Earth and just drop them off places because they breed well.
Yeah. I will say one thing, like, it made me laugh in a weird way because we get this announcement of Amazon spending all this money on MGM, this big purchase. Right. Meanwhile, they just got the same amount back from the government for some star thing. I don't even know what it is. It's their NASA-like program or whatever they're working on. So, like, I don't know. My biggest problem here is the consolidation of all of our IPs and all of our industries. Like, I don't really want all these companies, like, to have 3 companies that own everything. But that seems to be the way we're going. Yeah,
I mean, it seems to be that way, you know. As of last week when we lost everything for DC, and everyone was like, hey, Marvel's going to buy it. No, Disney has no interest in the DC characters. No. Stop. Just stop.
Speaking of Marvel, this week we got our first trailer for the Eternals movie. So what'd you think?
Here's the greatest secret of the world. I've been reading comics since I was 12 years old. I can name probably 3 of the Eternals. So I struggled to care. And I have read probably about 50 Eternals books in my lifetime. Still can't name more than 3.
I know Icarus.
On the Avengers. That's the only reason I can name her.
I thought the trailer was fine. I thought it was funny that at the end of it, it feels like they made the trailer and then somebody's just like, well, how does anybody know this is Marvel related? And like, oh shit, they added that little scene at the end to be like, hey, the Avengers exist. I don't know. I didn't really... The suits were weird. Like, I had a hard time picking out who Icarus was in the group.
Right.
And it... Like you said, I've tried the Eternals a few times. I actually have been reading the recent one, but I'm already like 3 issues behind.
There's only 3 issues out, so I don't think that's possible.
Is there? Then maybe I'm 2 issues behind. I remember... I get it, and it sits in a pile, and I'm just like, because I like Kieran Gillen, and Asad Rubik's art is amazing. But, yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I will go see it. I will probably end up loving it, because I probably said the same thing when Guardians was coming out.
Sure, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think these characters are a little bit more obscure than Guardians. But just because if you've ever paid attention to the cosmic universe, you know Gamora and you know Drax. You didn't maybe not know Star-Lord or Rocket Raccoon or Groot, but you knew Gamora and Drax. But yeah, man, it's hard. And then you talk about that joke at the end. The whole trailer is about them not paying attention, them manipulating society and not getting involved at all. And then the first thing they're talking about, hey, I should join the Avengers. You literally are counting everything else you said in this trailer.
Yeah. This will be an interesting one. I think this will be This is the real test for me because I brought up Guardians already, but like I remember when Guardians was coming out and everybody's just like, I don't know about that. And we all end up loving it, and now we're waiting for the third one. I think this is a similar point where we're all kind of being like, I don't know. And if they don't hit it out of the park with this, I'm not going to say it's going to ruin everything, because it's not, but it's just it's a sign for me of where the MCU is going. So I'm intrigued on this movie more than I am looking forward to it. Yeah,
I mean, I was pretty sure Guardians was going to be their first flop. I was really thinking that. And then when I watched that, I was like, it's not written anything like the comics. It's written way better, and we need to adjust the comics. It's the first time I went the opposite way. No, that comic is way too serious. Like, this is what we need, more of this.
Yeah, and it's telling him Bendis took over and did exactly that.
Right, he did. A lot of people were mad about it, but I mean, that's what he did.
So, all right, this is my favorite thing, rumor mill time. So, a recent report has stated that Willem Dafoe is in fact in Spider-Man No Way Home, and will not only be in the movie, but will be the main villain. So that means that he's returning to be Green Goblin. So not only will Green Goblin be the main villain, he will also be gathering his own Sinister Six to take on Spidey. That team is said to include Dr. Octopus, which has previously been rumored to be Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, Electro, who we previously had a rumor that it would be Jamie Foxx returning, the Sandman, Rhino, and the Lizard.
Well, so if I'm not mistaken, Alfred said in one interview that he was in that movie, like flat out.
Was it official? I remember at one point it was rumor. It's tough to keep track of all these. But
no, he said he was in the movie. He did not say he was Doc Ock.
Okay.
But he did say he was in the movie. So that's the only 100%. But we've got Andrew Garfield declining that he's in it. But, I mean, that would be awesome if it was. Grab literally the only good things from all the movies and try to make it work. Of course, I would want Vulture instead of Lizard or... I don't know. The Lizard, he was in Amazing Spider-Man 1, right? That was the villain for that one? He was the first villain in that.
Okay, so all of these villains we've seen in previous Spider-Man movies. We had Sandman in the never to be talked about again Spider-Man 3. We had Rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man. And then we had the Lizard at Amazing Spider-Man. So... are all these going to be returning people? I don't know. That would seem weird if you just keep going back to the well, especially since the Rhino wasn't really that good.
Right. And not the main character, right?
Yeah, he showed up for one scene.
Yeah. And, I mean, no one had an issue with Sandman, so Sandman's fine, you know. That wasn't the problem with Spider-Man 3.
No. Sandman was fantastic, outside of the fact that they had to tie it. They had to do a Batman 89, tie it into his origin for some damn reason.
Right.
Other than that, he was phenomenal. As long as Willem Dafoe doesn't come back with that action figure costume that he had, because that scene really does look like two action figures talking to each other when you go back and watch it.
Do you know how much he sacrificed?
But I don't know what's going on with this movie. It's so weird. It seems like every 2 days we have a new rumor that like somebody's jumping into this movie that was never in it before. And all this multiverse shit that we're talking about, it's just so strange.
I mean, I hope it makes logical sense for Sony with their bad business practice to go, Spider-Verse was really good. We clearly need to make that a movie. That is Sony on the board. With Marvel doing their multiverse stuff, them going, all right, sure, do your bad idea. That's fine. But the whole purpose, if you're doing that, should be to get Miles.
Yes.
I mean, really, like it should be to get Miles, and that has been the rumor that hasn't been pushed, right?
Yeah, in my feeling, Doctor Strange comes out after Spider-Man. Is that correct?
Yeah, Spider-Man's at the end of this year, and Doctor Strange is next year.
So, I feel like the stinger we're going to get for Spider-Man is going... Originally, I thought the stinger was going to be the other two from the previous movies coming in.
Right.
And us all freaking out because the next one would be that. I think that's what's going to happen at the end of this movie is we're going to connect it to Doctor Strange. So that some point in Doctor Strange, maybe we get a tease of like, there's other spider people out there, whether it's something as awesome as Spider-Ham or, you know, what's the mech spider that was in Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't Spidey X, whatever it is, yeah.
Or even just in the background, Miles swinging as they're going through some multiverse portal. Like something. Right. I feel like that movie's going to connect back to Miles somehow. So, it's going to be awesome, right? Like, we have no reason to think it's not going to be an awesome movie. It's just confusing that we're going like... all in on this one movie for Spider-Man stuff.
Well, and it seems, it seems ridiculous that, like, way too much stuff, and, like, literally falling into the trap of making a bad Spider-Man 3. Like, it really feels, because it's really hard to do all these things right. I don't know, especially with Mysterio being so good and, like, Vulture being so good. You're playing with fire here, but I do think I don't think it's a coincidence that Sam Raimi's around to help out. Mm-hmm. I don't think that that's a coincidence. You got Sam Raimi over on Stephen Strange, but you're building one of the things that you've noticed that they're building in Marvel subtly is the Young Avengers.
Yes.
So you've got, Scarlet Witch has got the 2 kids, and then you've got the Patriot in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Who else? I know you got Hawkeye coming, so you know that's going to have. You've already upped Ant-Man's daughter to be of the right age. You fill that in with the Ironheart, Miss Marvel, and Spidey. And Miles Morales. You've got a hit movie or show right there all day long. Don't call it Champions, call it Young Avengers. Do your thing.
Yeah, I think they'll do the Young Avengers at some point. I will say I think that Ironheart, Kamala, and Miles specifically could be a Champions thing.
Yeah.
Outside of the Young Avengers. Yeah. And I would be all for that because I love this new Champions that we've had running around for, 5-6 years now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great place to put in Nova, because you keep hinting that you're going to do Nova. I'm completely okay with doing Sam instead of, damn it. Kyle?
Yeah.
Sam? No.
Richard. Richard. Yeah. 100%. But like you said, I am confused because the Sinister Six thing, like, we've been setting this up with Vulture for a while now.
Right.
Why wouldn't he be a part of it? That's my one red flag about this rumor.
But you do know Sony has wanted that Sinister Six so bad. Because Avengers 2 was all a setup for Sinister Six. They want it so bad. Yeah. Because that's the secret. More villains. That's they don't understand that that's what's ruining their films.
Yeah. That's my other thing is when are we going to learn one villain? You can do multiple villains, but it doesn't have to be super villain team up. Right. But one main villain per movie. Just because it says Spider-Man 2 doesn't mean we need 2 villains.
Right. Think about Avengers. Even Avengers Endgame, where they literally went in the past, still didn't give you the old villains because they were it's not going to help. It's not going to help do stuff.
Yeah, it's Thanos. We got to take care of Thanos.
Yeah, I would have loved the Masters of Evil movie. I would have loved that, gathering Abomination and all these and put them together and make a Masters of Evil to go against the Avengers. That would have been the shit. But, Marvel's it's not a good idea.
Yeah. I want a Master of Evil so bad, but at the same time, I wonder if that's, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, well, I think it could work. One of the things why I think that could work versus other stuff is you've introduced the villains just like you did the heroes. You've got to have already introduced them so you can make that happen. So I have a little bit more faith that could work versus having them all come together, without any strategy.
Yes.
But I don't know. But the problem with Marvel villains is they don't do a great job of building them. Look at, Thor 2 or Iron Man 2, all of their 2s, their villains are just unexpired, unreally involved with everything. Even Ultron, his motivation is very, very limited. I want to kill you because you made me. What? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, which when I'm watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, one of the best parts of that show to me was how they kind of retconned Zemo a little bit, but then just built upon what he is, and I was like, that's Zemo, that's the Zemo. I said he never did it, but if he pulled out a sword at some point, I probably would have just freaked out because that was the Zemo I know.
Oh, I loved it. I loved his motivation. I loved him even giving props to Cap and mocking Falcon without Falcon realizing it. Oh, except for Steve Rogers, right? He was perfect.
So, all right, before we get too far into that conversation, we do have an interview to get to, so let's jump over to that, my talk with Richard Fairgray. All right. Everybody, go check out Richard's work, his new book coming out. The dude's awesome. And go buy Blastosaurus. I love that book so much, and you should too. So go check out everything he's doing.
Yeah.
So what do you say, Travis? You want to talk about some comics?
Let's talk about some comics. This is a good week.
Yeah, we got some good stuff, especially from DC.
Yes.
So starting with them, DC has announced that they will be participating in Free Comic Book Day this year. Not only that, but we know the titles they're releasing. They've announced that they're releasing a Batman title that is tying into and leading into the upcoming Fear State event. Mm-hmm. They will also be doing a Suicide Squad book right around the time of the movie that will feature King Shark. And you can also get a teaser of their upcoming young adult original graphic novel, Teen Titans, Beast Boy Loves Raven. You like Free Comic Book Day? You all about Free Comic Book Day?
Oh, I love Free Comic Book Day. It's my favorite. And what's really cool about it, like if you go to eBay anytime, like you can sell that the Miles second appearance, like for crazy amounts of money right now. It's cool that not only is Free Comic Book Day awesome, but like some of those things held up, have held up value. And because it was given away for free, a lot of people just threw them away. It's worth something. It's crazy to me that you can flip your free comic.
Those I keep most of mine. There's some that I'm sure have disappeared over the years, but especially the Marvel and DC ones because they usually do tie into what's going on in Marvel and DC. So I'm not reading Batman right now, so the Fear State thing does nothing for me. I'm sure Mike will be excited for it. And
it's friggin' awesome, and I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited about Fear State, so excited about a crossover DC thing. Because DC doesn't tend to do that, right? DC tends to give us crap for Free Comic Book Day. To see them going like, we're going to help our event is a good sign.
Yes. It's usually just lead-ins to like new books or just like I think last year
was White Knight, wasn't it? It was the Batman White Knight stuff last year.
Oh, see, I remember that. I remember them doing something for that Supergirls TV show or whatever it's called. Like they usually do weird stuff, and I kind of like the way Marvel does it, where it's even though some of them haven't come to fruition, but they do stuff that like connects to what's going on in the books around that time.
Dark Ages is coming, Chris. It's coming.
I hope so. Suicide Squad I'm also not reading, but thank God King Shark's getting the spotlight. That's all I gotta say about that.
Suicide Squad is great, and you should be reading it. It has Superboy. Like, that's the only reason to read it. Like, it has Superboy. It also has a Talon. I like Talons a lot. I like that, Quarter Vowels. So.
I'm probably going to pick up those trades because I read the Fear State Suicide Squad, and I really liked it, so... Sticking with DC Black Label has added 2 new comics to his upcoming slate of books. First up, Superman vs. Lobo. This is going to be written by Sarah Beatty with art by Mirka Andolov. This 3-issue oversized series will see the 2 characters in the name, Superman and Lobo, battle at the behest of the Omniverse's biggest social media influencer, Newman. Okay, and after that
one's super interesting just because I don't know either that writer or that artist. Why did they get Lobo? Why is it Black Label? It's just fascinating to me, that whole announcement.
I like these oversized issues.
Yeah.
They're really cool. Lobo does nothing for me, so we'll probably wait to see what all you have to say about it and then check it out.
Right.
I'm glad that Newman's coming back and his fight with Jerry is now over, so he's going to take it up with Superman.
Right.
After that is a Joker book, surprise. The Joker Presents a Puzzle Box by writer Matthew Rosenberg with a different artist in each issue. This series will have the Joker telling a different story in each of the 7 issues that seem to be unconnected. But are they? I like Matthew Rosenberg.
I like him a lot. I'm not sure if I like him 7 issues of unconnected Joker stories with various artists a lot, but I do like. I will give it a try because he has not let me down. His last Hawkeye was really good. He's my favorite part of the Detective Urban Tales. I love that Red Hood story. No, he's doing
He's doing Grifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy his stuff. If I'm correct, he did a recent Punisher run that I really liked.
Yeah, he's the one with Zemo. He put Zemo versus...
Yes. But yeah, like, I don't know. Even though I don't read a lot of Batman these days, I'm so jokered out.
Right.
That I just don't know if I can do it. Once again, that's probably one that I will wait to see what all you have to say, and then if you love it, I'll give it a shot, but we'll see. And
to be fair, Matthew should have been signed to a Marvel exclusive, and they fucked up by not doing that.
I agree with you there. I wonder, because he was so connected to Punisher and some of those street level villain or heroes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that had something to do with it.
Yeah, well, and he did the Amazing Spider-Man too. He was the co-writer for that the big crossover. Mm-hmm. So they had the point zero issues. So they had the 2 going at the same time. So he ran the sub book with the the other Spidey characters, Spider-Woman, Gwen and Miles, and it was good.
The one that shocked me that they didn't sign on was Chip. I can't believe that Chip didn't get an exclusive deal.
Yeah, I don't understand why you don't give a... In fact, I don't understand the Fantastic Four. He's a great writer, but the life story, that's Chip. Giving it to somebody else, I'm not going to buy it because I feel Chip should have it.
So I would agree with you, but speaking of Word Balloon, Chip was on that and he talked about it. Did you listen to that one?
I listened to how much it took to do it and how hard it was to put it together. Yeah, I did listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like he didn't want to, and plus, we're big Mark Russell fans over here.
Oh yeah, I mean he's great.
So I enjoyed that first issue, but I do agree with you, that it's going to be a lot to live up to that Spider-Man life story because that was so good.
It's getting an annual for some strange reason.
Yeah, about J. Jonah Jameson?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll read it. But sticking with Batman is getting his own hardcore anthology this summer titled Batman the World. This series will be told let me start over. Batman the World will be a series of stories told by different creative teams about Batman in different parts of the world. Each team will be people from different countries, all telling a story that takes place in the country they live in. And for the U.S., we will be getting a story by Brian Azzarello and artist Lee Bermejo. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, this one got me a bunch of trouble this week on Twitter. I don't know if you know.
I missed that.
So I made a joke. I said, someone's going to read this announcement, and one angry Republican's going to go, because it didn't have the Brian Azzarello one. Some angry Republican's going to go, I wish there was one written by an American. And I thought that was funny. And then people got upset with me and pointed out all these famous people. And I was like, I was just making a joke. They're like, why do you make a Democrat joke? And I was like, I'm sure some angry Democrat wants that New Warrior story to come out. Come on. I tried to play nice, but no, it blew up my Twitter, and I had Comicscape people yelling at me. And I was like, it was a joke. And I said, one angry Republican. I specifically said one. I wasn't calling them all out. so yeah.
Even if that was the case, we have somebody writing a Batman story every week, it feels like, that lives in the U.S. So, but anyways, I think it's interesting to take different people from different walks of life around the world and have I live in Germany. That's a bad example. But let's tell Batman in Germany fighting crime. That's a cool idea. I didn't recognize any of the names on that list.
Right.
But there's also a very huge international comic community that I'm not aware of. And this is a great way to get their names out there, too. So,
but why would
great.
you call it like World? Remember what was his thing? A Batman Inc., like the World Inc. thing? Why wouldn't you call it that and like continue on that trend?
I think weirdly DC's trying to get away from Batman Inc.
Okay.
Because, like, we were really... Actually, I think they were for a while, and now they kind of tend to be moving back because I thought it was weird. Are you reading Batman the Detective?
I'm not reading Detective, even though I hear it's almost better than Batman, is what I hear.
So they actually brought back Squire in that.
Oh,
and
wow.
it takes place in the UK. So, like, I thought for a while that we were kind of moving away from that because the only one that we wanted to... only character we wanted from that was Lucius Fox's kid.
Sure.
And now I'm seeing Squire pop back in, so I don't know. I kind of get it. I like the road trip feel of it, of like, what does Bruce do in these areas, and why is he there? But that would be interesting too. I love me some Batman Inc. That was a great series.
Yeah, it was fun.
So yeah, we'll look forward to that. Once again, sticking with Batman. After over 80 years of comics, DC will finally give Alfred Pennyworth his own series. Well, kind of. Spinning out of the TV series by Epix, titled Pennyworth, this 7-issue series will be titled Pennyworth, written by Scott Bryan Wilson and Joanne Gideon, and will follow the events of the TV show. Are you watching this show at all?
No, I didn't watch Gotham. I actually stopped watching all the DC stuff. I loved them, but I already commit to reading all their books every month. I cannot watch 12 hours of TV every week to keep up on what's going on.
So not watching Gotham was a positive life decision of yours. I haven't either, but it's funny how like the press releases were like, Alfred's finally getting his own series, except it's based on this TV show that nobody watches and has nothing to do with what's going on in DC Comics. So
right.
It's like, okay, I guess somebody will read it. But good on the creative team. I don't recognize their names, so maybe they write something great and they can do some better or more stuff later on.
I was actually talking to somebody yesterday about comics, and he's like, I haven't read comics in about 2 years. Is Alfred still dead, or a year and a half? I was like, yeah, Alfred's still dead. He's like, wow, that may stick. I was like, I don't know. Every issue, I feel like he's coming back.
Well, we're talking about what we're reading, but Alfred is kind of in one of the books I'm reading right now, which is very strange.
Really?
Yeah. But moving on to Marvel. The only Marvel news we got is Star Wars news. Yeah. Marvel will be adding its second High Republic series to its list of Star Wars comics. Star Wars, The High Republic, Trial of Shadows will be a 5-issue miniseries set in the time frame of the High Republic line. This series will be about 2 detectives working for the Republic to hunt down a threat that could threaten peace around the galaxy. The series will be written by New York Times bestseller Daniel Jose Older, with art by David Wachter. I think I got those names right. I probably butchered them, and I apologize. But I'm looking forward to this. How about you?
The Star Wars stuff has been great. It's highbrow. It's not bogged down in continuity. So yeah, I'll give it a try. I give them all a try, but I never finish. I never finish a Star Wars series. I always give it like 2 issues, and I'm like, I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna go buy more Marvel and DC. I don't know why I do that.
I'm a whore for Star Wars. I buy all the books. I'm loving the High Republic line.
Yeah, it's good.
It's got that almost Knights of the Republic feel, while at the same time having its own story and its own like universe to play in. So expanding that is great to me. I'm all for it. So,
yeah,
moving on.
I'm excited. I mean, and the other thing that's really cool about it is it's getting Star Wars fans back in. It's a spec market for those books. because of everything. And I know that spec can be bad, but it's really good when you're buying stuff that needs a lot. You know, Star Wars line doesn't sell great. Allowing that in the spec market and then viewing that's important is really, really good. And I hear this War of the Bounty Hunter stuff is off the chain, like amazing.
I've been enjoying it so far. Steve McNiven's doing the main line book for that, and his art is just phenomenal for it. Seeing him draw Boba Fett is probably the best part of that book.
Yeah.
So let's move over to Dark Horse with some reprint news. Dark Horse has announced that it will be printing a new version of the highly acclaimed series The House by Philip Seavey of Tomb Raider fame and Drew Sucker of Kanto fame. The series was originally published through Kickstarter back in 2018. Yeah. Have you ever read The House?
I have not, but I've heard good things about it.
I have not either. Next week's show, actually, we're going to talk to Philip Seavey, so
nice.
Look forward to that. But I think it's interesting. I like Seavey's art. I didn't realize he was doing the Tomb Raider book. I read that for a little while when that came out. But some of his solo stuff I really like. He's actually the writer for this. Mm-hmm. And then Drew Sucker is a fun name right now because Kanto just blew up out of nowhere.
True.
And did you read that series?
I have it, but I have not read it yet. It's on my stack.
I've been meaning to pick it up because I want to know what all the hype is about.
Sure.
It's interesting that this weird book at IDW that looks like a Pixar movie is just like a huge thing right now. Especially, as you say, in the spec market.
Yeah, the spec market is huge on that book. And I think it's because, if I remember correctly, like, there's only like 200 or so that can be 9.9 or something like that, or 9.8 or higher, because it was a big damage run on the print. So people are really trying to get it, which is so weird. Hey, a whole bunch of these get damaged. Let's find the ones that aren't. And the only way we're going to know is by sending it to CGC and hope.
That's a strange one. So that's all for the news. Travis, you read comics, right?
No. I've been meaning to. It's on my list. Let's talk about this week.
Let's talk about what are you reading?
So where do you want to start? Marvel, DC? Where are we starting?
Let's start with Marvel.
Okay. So this week, I frigging love Hero Reborn. It's the first issue that I really loved.
Really?
Because it's been rough. Go ahead, Chris. I'm seeing you making faces.
I love Heroes Reborn. I think it's a cool little study of like trying to rebuild the Marvel Universe as DC.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun, and the ancillary books, like I've been picking up all of them so far, but they're fun one-shot stories, and I like that this kind of universe just exists in a vacuum, and that they're treating it as if it's been around for 60 years plus, and like giving us little hints to things that happened in the past. But yeah, I agree with you. This was my favorite issue so far.
Yeah.
But I did love the other 3 issues personally.
No, I love the art. I love, I love using that guy's art in the way they did. I love Groot. I love Rocket. I love Ego. Like, I loved everything about that Dr. Spectrum issue. Everything. It was so good. And this one's the first one that didn't have like the teaser Cap, Thor, Blade hangout at the end, right?
I thought it did.
It has stuff in the end, but it's not those characters.
No, it's Starbrand at the end.
Yeah, right. It's got Starbrand, which is super interesting. So I loved it, again, it's the first one I loved. I also, this is the first one of the spin-offs that I got. I got the Magneto one, because I'm a huge Magneto fan. That was okay. It wasn't anything amazing. But like you said, I really like the tags of when these other issues that didn't exist came from.
Yeah. I like in the main Heroes Reborn book, we got our first kind of hint of maybe what possibly went wrong in this world.
Right.
With that ending. I don't want to give too much away.
Sure.
And everything you said. I love, like, the Rocket and Groot thing, kind of turning them into Lobo in this universe. And I wish I could pull up who the artist was. James Stokey.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect artist for that issue.
So good, so good. And Dr. Spectrum, I've always liked Dr. Spectrum, but I've never felt he was ever written well. And that this is the first time I was like, I would buy a Dr. Spectrum series. Like he's definitely the opposite of Marvel. And what's cool about him is he knows that the world is wrong. He's the first one of the heroes. No, it's the second one who kind of admits that it's wrong, and he's just going around. He's just pretending it's not.
Yeah. The Magneto one I thought was okay. I agree with you. I wasn't big on that.
Yeah.
Siege Society, I really liked. It was a team that's in Europe and kind of dealing with the backlash of what the Squadron's doing outside of the United States.
Right.
And Zemo leads the team, so I'm in.
Yeah, I wanted to pick that one up. I don't know. I must have missed it on the shelf because I would have picked that one up because of Zemo and Sabretooth.
Yeah, and then Hawkeye's in it, and Scott Lang is the Ant-Man in it, or the Fire Ant is what they call him. And then also a version of U.S. Agent is in it.
Okay. And Black Widow, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then my favorite of all of them was Young Squadron. Once again, I'm a big Champions fan.
Right.
And this follows Kamala, Sam, and Miles, where Kamala becomes Girl Power, which is just the young apprentice to Power Girl. Sam becomes Kid Prism, something like that.
Okay.
And first what I love about him is his origin is connected to this universe's version of MODOK. So I'm in right there.
Right.
And how both of them, Power Girl and Kid Spectrum, are connected to their hero in some way, like they were mentored by them. And then we get to Miles, who becomes Falcon. And this is where we first kind of officially learn in the lore that Sam Wilson had died prior to this, which is an issue I think we're getting next week.
Yeah, it's a Gwen Stacy Green Goblin like homage.
Yes. And Miles wants to pay homage to him by becoming the new Falcon, and he goes to who's the Batman? Nighthawk. Goes to Nighthawk and is like, I'm going to be your new ward, blah, blah, blah. Nighthawk's not having it. And he basically tells him, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you. And he continues to be Falcon anyways. He creates this young squadron. They go out and they fight crime. We get the twisted version of Deadpool, which to me was basically the Joker for this.
Okay.
And basically when it all comes about, like, we learn that the young squadron kind of figures out that there's something wrong. And that the Squadron Supreme isn't what we think they are. And they end up renaming themselves at the end. Like I said, I love the Champions, and I thought this was a really good book.
Yeah.
What else you got from Marvel?
So X-Men was out of nowhere plot. Like Hickman was like, hey, remember when I used to write plot in this book that you guys really liked? Here you go. Here's some. I'm just going to throw that out there. Here's a nice Mystique story. Curious about that whole why we're not allowing people who see the future? Let me give you a little hint. So good. So good. The Nimrod stuff was good. Everything.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this too, and I kind of like that side of Magneto and Xavier that we don't see very often.
Right.
Where they're kind of puppet masters, and Xavier especially, maybe because I'm not used to seeing him this way, but he comes off as a dick.
Oh, I loved it. I love them just shutting her down, and like especially if you've been reading the whole thing and seeing that they played her and keep having her do stuff, making a promise that we know because of other plots that it's never going to happen. So good.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what Hickman has in store after this. I believe this is his last issue on the main X series.
This is last for the main. I think he's still doing a couple of pop-ups, but yeah.
Yeah, and he's they did tease a new series called Inferno at the end of this as well. But yeah, Jerry Duggan's taking over, so I'm probably going to stick with it just because I'm invested in what this new world is.
Right.
But I want to see where they're taking X-Men. It's the first time in my life I'm really excited about X-Men.
Yeah, and we don't, like, I feel like they pulled Hickman around, like, we still don't really know what this Hellfire Club thing's going to be all about. The trial of Magneto, to be honest, even though I'm a huge Magneto fan, is super lame. He's been put on trial, like, so many times. It's so not interesting to put Magneto on trial, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that one yet, but I will check out the Hellfire Gala. And apparently, whatever that book is, the Trial of Magneto is tied directly into Hellfire Gala. So we'll see. And plus, that book is kind of taking over where X Factor was, and I wasn't thrilled about what X Factor was doing.
Yeah, I've actually cut down my X-Men, so I read the main book. I used to read New Mutants, but it became a New Mutants story, because it was New Mutants and Gen X, and they would kind of switch out characters and move them, but now it's just solely New Mutants, so I'm not in anymore. But I am reading, I love X-Sword. That last issue of X-Sword I was all in on. And I'm reading The Way of the X, but I'm not huge into that either.
Yes, I love Way of X. I like that second issue. I'm still reading. Oh, Excalibur's still coming out, I believe.
Oh yeah, I'm reading Excalibur, but like, I haven't cared in like 4 issues.
Well, as soon as I got rid of Betty, I was like, okay, can we get Betty back? Because I really like the whole Captain Britain thing. That's what drew me into that book.
Right.
And then
utilizing the sub characters, like you've got Gambit and Rogue who are married, and you're literally going to be pulling Rogue onto another team soon. Like, let them have their time, you know?
Yeah, I think that book needs to come to. I feel like it's coming to a conclusion, and it needs to get there and just move on. Right. And then I read the first issue of X Corp, and I really like that.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I wanted to, but I didn't read it. I like it. I like Penance a lot. I like some of those characters, so I'll give it a try at some point. I just big weeks recently. Big weeks.
Yeah. Got anything else from Marvel?
Yeah, so the next thing I read the Miles Clone Wars stuff.
Okay.
So I like that. I like where they're going with it. I think it was a really good issue. It wasn't anything super exciting, but I think they're taking it in a very different direction than the original Clone Wars. So I think the payoff's going to be good. I like how they're kind of separating, because it was really connected to whatever they're doing in the future with Ultimates, which I pretty much think that's what Donny Cates' announcements is the return of the Ultimate Universe.
So there was a thing where his big announcement was somehow tied into Crossover 6, where he said you'll be able to see what I'm doing if you read Crossover 6.
What?
And it was something he said on Twitter, and so I'm convinced that he's taken over Fantastic Four. Because if you read Crossover, Fantastic Four are in the background. They're not, like, actually in the background, but they're in the background.
Man, but pulling that I just listened to a Dan Slott interview and how happy he was, like, he got the team where he wants, but it would be a good time to pull him off the book, like, to be honest. You've got this wedding, you've got the 60th anniversary.
Yeah, and I think you're a Dan Slott fan, correct?
I was a Stan Slott Spider-Man fan.
Okay.
Yeah, his Fantastic Four, it had a lot of potential, and like he just has kind of wasted my time.
I fell off it way in the beginning. I think it was around I think the last issue I got was like the wedding special where Ben got married. Right. And I was like, okay. It wasn't for me because I wasn't a long time, like, dyed-in-the-wool invested Fantastic Four fan.
Right.
I feel like that was his problem.
And why did we get to see, like, what would have been interesting is the whole time that he was gone when he was, like, rebuilding the universe. That would have been really cool. Where he rebuilds alternate timelines, like, that would have been so cool, but whatever.
There's a story that went around that when Secret Wars was done, Hickman's pitch was to do another Fantastic Four comic.
You're right.
And it was exactly that. It was the Fantastic Four going through the multiverse and rebuilding the multiverse and everything. Right. But because of movie stuff, allegedly, that didn't happen. And that book would have been my dream Fantastic Four book at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been really cool, and they kind of ignored that it's been rebuilt now. Like, it's kind of like that's all gone, so it's all the same stuff that was out there before. So it doesn't, none of that ends up mattering to sucks, because I think that has the potential to make it really epic. Because the Ultimate world being around still, like, is crazy.
But if Johnny brings back the Ultimates universe, I'm there. I'm there 100%.
And I think he wants to do that. I think that was his hint with the Maker. I don't know. But yeah, if he does FF, but here's the thing, like, Donnie's science stuff is not great. Like, if you've ever read him try to build science stuff. So I'd love to see what he does for a Fantastic Four. Like, for me, if someone offered me Fantastic Four as a writer, I'd be like, yeah, if you want zero science and just Johnny and Thing punching shit, like, I'm in.
Yeah. Selfishly, I want him to take Cap, just because it'd be my favorite creator doing my favorite character. But I think they're going to put Cap on ice for a little bit.
Yeah, but Cap's a good option too, because it's winding down. You know, you've got to find books that are winding down. Fantastic Four seems to be winding down. Cap can be winding down.
No.
He could maybe take Daredevil with where Chip is taking it, but I don't think they're going to kick Chip off that book. But that's the only one that I can think of, because Chip, where he's at in his storyline, I could see that wrapping up in 6 issues and to have him.
Well, I don't want Chip off that book.
I don't want him off that book.
I would love to see Donnie's Daredevil at the same time.
Yeah.
But I can get that 2 or 3 years from now when Chip's done. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think you should give him Spidey, because Nick Spencer's fucking that up. So, like, give him Spidey.
Are you reading Beta Ray Bill?
I am not, and everyone says it's so great. I don't understand. It's Beta Ray Bill. He sucks.
So it's Daniel Warren Johnson, who was a phenomenal creator.
Right.
And we got Beta Ray Bill going. So in the last issue, they go down to whatever their version of hell is. And his ship actually creates an android version of itself and is walking around with them now. Because the dimensional portal they went through was able to do this crazy shit. So now the ship can, like, transform and it's its own person, and it's fucking weird.
Wow.
But it's awesome. And then it builds him a new weapon where he's using, and it's this new axe that he's going to use to fight off the minions of Surtur.
Right, it's still broken from Thor, right? When Thor broke it?
His hammer is, yes, but now he's got this, like, axe that his ship built for him that has jets on it, and it's fucking nuts. Right. But it's a really good series so far. I highly recommend it, because it's, like you said, I don't really care about Beta Ray Bill either.
Right.
When he shows up, he's fun as a side character, but I never got into, like, doing him as a solo book.
Right.
But Daniel Warren Johnson, man, he's got me intrigued. He's got me interested. So I'll definitely keep reading that one.
Art's fantastic. That guy's art is killer.
Yeah, and he like, at one point they transformed the ship into a battleship because they're in hell and they're on this lake of lava. And the way he just shows, like, how everything's transforming and makes sense of it, where you kind of believe that, like, this spaceship just transformed into a battleship, it's awesome. I mean, the dude's thinking through every detail way more than I ever would, so kudos to him.
Yeah.
That's all I have for Marvel right now.
Yeah, I was looking at the list. I mean, I don't read Alien. I should, because I like the first issue, but I just didn't.
I'm behind on Alien.
I didn't read Black Widow. I don't read Maestro. Yeah, I don't read Black Panther.
So I've just got a couple for DC. I'm behind on Harley, so I didn't get to read that this week.
Okay.
But let's actually start with Robin. Are you reading Robin?
Oh my God, am I reading Robin? This book pissed me off that the internet didn't care that Connor Hawke was back. Nobody talked about it. I had to read it in an issue, and not fucking Bleeding Cool, Newsarama. Nobody was like, this character's been gone for 12 years. Nobody seems to give a damn, and it breaks my heart.
You know who does seem to give a damn is Joshua Williams.
He does.
I hate to keep bringing up that interview, but him talking about that interview just made me care even more.
And I love, like, the spoilers that he gave in that, like, without spoiling anything. He's like, Raja's 4, Nightwing 5.
Yeah. So this is the book I was saying where, like, Alfred kind of shows up.
Where he's in his head, he's talking?
Yeah, so he's in Damien's head throughout it.
Yeah.
I like the cast we got here. I like this Flatline character out of nowhere. I mean, on the concept. It's Mortal Kombat, but it's on Lazarus Island.
Right.
I like Damien, and I like. It seems like with how the book, this issue ends, we might see some growth from Damien, which would be nice.
Right.
But yeah, this is a really cool series. Like you said, Connor Hawk's back.
Yeah, and I like the pitch of, like, you need to learn how to fight. And he's like, I was trained by Batman. What can possibly you teach me? But I really like that. And I really like Ravager being used in a smart way, because she's throwaway character so often, but she's the son of Deathstroke, a daughter of Deathstroke, and she's just as manipulative, and it's really cool. She's like, oh, I don't want to win this tournament. I have my own stuff. Like, that's a throwaway line, and I care about her and will now pay attention to everything she does in this whole series.
Yeah. And then it's called Lazarus Island. I want to see the connection to the League of Shadows, how Damien's involved, why he's even here, all this stuff.
Well, and they're talking about it, in that little cutscene, they talk about the charging up. Like, what does it need? Why does this pit need to be charged up? It seems to be working fine with the resurrection of Robin.
Yeah. Are you reading Batman Superman?
I am not. I actually canceled it because I stopped caring.
You're breaking my heart.
I'm sorry. What was it?
So, with issue 16, Jean Lewin Yang took over.
Right.
And Ivan Reis is doing the art. It is... I don't care. It's the best book I'm reading right now. It's awesome.
Oh, really?
It's... So it's issue 16, but the first issue of this run, we see these kind of parallel dimensions going on, where one is Superman's dimension where Batman doesn't exist, and the other one's Batman's dimension where Superman doesn't exist.
Right.
And they end up coming together. Where this whole thing is being manipulated by the architect, who is like acting as like a indie film creator, and he's just not happy with how these worlds are coming about. So all the panel layouts are done in like this film style. I don't know if you can see on that, but like how the film goes throughout it. And I just love that not only do we got the Batman and Superman of our Earth kind of sitting back and like trying to figure out how to save all these universes, but at the same time we've got these other ones for these parallel dimensions that the architect is creating, and they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because on Batman's world, Metropolis is a hellhole that's been destroyed, and in this we end up finding out that there's a Lex Luthor from a third dimension that is now working as a kind of transporter between dimensions to take from one to the other, and they end up finding him and sitting like beating him up and saying, "What are you doing?" And he tells them like there's this being that's controlling everything, and if it's not a perfect dimension, he will destroy us all. So by destroying that one, I'm fixing ours to create the perfect world for him.
Right.
And so you got kind of a dialogue there. And just how they're treating all the characters within it, like in Batman's world. I'm sorry, in Superman's world, Martha Wayne is still around, and Bruce is just like a little sissy kid who like is just a pile of shit with money.
Right.
And Alfred actually has access to the Venom juice, so he's like the bane of that world. And in the end, we end up finding that what they're smuggling is this toxin to create basically the new Solomon Grundy. And Martha uses it to create a new Solomon Grundy to take out Superman. It's really well done. I'd really recommend this. I don't know how long he can keep this up. It might just be this one. But I'm with you. I was kind of checked out on Batman Superman, and then issue 16 happened. Right. So when this is all done, I highly recommend finding this
and the
series.
architect needed some more screen time, too. So, I mean, that's a good use of the architect.
And I've been a big Ivan Reis fan for a while.
Right.
But when he gets into the world of the Architect, and I'm trying to find a good page that shows it, but like the detail he puts into that world,
right,
is just amazing. I mean, like, see every little detail he puts into that one-page splash. Yeah. Like, I just love his work. So everybody should be reading this. That's all I have from DC this week. You have anything else?
I got one more. I read the Milestone Returns. And that was tough, man. Like, the characters were good, but literally, this is what makes me mad. When you know that they're not really taking it seriously. Because that art is so bad. It's so bad. So you're literally bringing back these black characters, trying to bring back the Milestone universe. Static is a huge fan favorite in the black community. And you give them the worst art. And you're like, you better like it because you said you wanted this. No, like, give them some decent art, like, you pieces of shit. So I really would call DC out on this, like, bad form. Like, because if it doesn't work, it's not because the stories were bad. It's because you literally paid like $20 a page. Like, you're paying like slave wages to get these artists.
I was never a Milestone guy.
I like Static Shock, and I picked it up just out of respect. I like that I like the potential that it has on the DC universe.
So after reading more about Milestone, I want to go back and read some of the ancillary stuff because Static Shock's what always stuck with me. I watched that cartoon, I just really didn't like it.
Sure.
And I was of that age where that was kind of what was popular. I did forget that I'd also read Legends of the Dark Knight, Chapter 7 and 8.
Okay.
Which is that digital first book they're doing. So the first 6 chapters are all Derek Robertson. 7 and 8 is done by our show favorite, Stephanie Phillips.
Okay.
And it's all about this crime that goes back to the 1910s, 1920s, that Batman and Penguin are both kind of... Penguin's trying to cover it up, and Batman's trying to figure out what happened. And we end up finding out is that in the past, Penguin's ancestor and Bruce's ancestor basically covered up some crimes that the Cobblepots were doing, which was basically abusing women. And it goes back in this where the woman that finally brings up charges and tries to get justice is denied by Bruce Wayne's ancestor, who was a judge at the time. And so she takes justice into her own hands. Okay. And it's Bruce in the present trying to solve that crime. Because he doesn't know that, but he's trying to figure it out. Right. And how it connects to both families. It's basically a one-issue story, because it's 2 chapters, but it's 20 pages. Okay. And it's really well done.
I was just thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about Fear State and like the Joker influx. When was the last time we had a good Joker story? A Penguin story? Like, I can't even name a good Penguin story. Like,
so I was talking about this on my other podcast, Bat Friends, where we're really hating the new Batman Adventures, which was the series that followed the animated series. But the Penguin in that is my favorite thing, because he's this short, like, fat little guy who just runs a club and wants to be left alone. And he's just pissed off that everybody comes to the Iceberg Lounge to, like, cause trouble. So that's probably the last good Penguin thing I've seen.
Penguin needs some respect.
How about some indie stuff? You got a good indie stuff you're reading?
Oh, I got some good indie stuff. Well, first we're going to talk about something that's killing children. Did you read that this week?
Nope.
No. Good as always, start of a new arc. If you guys don't talk about that, I can't help you. Department of Truth, you reading that?
I'm reading that in trade.
Okay. Department of Truth, this issue was the issue of signs, like talking about what signs mean and symbolisms, from like the Nazi symbol to the Christ cross to the pagan symbol, and how it's influenced society. Like, James Tierney, he's out of his mind. Like, I'm worried for him. The more and more I read Department of Truth, I'm worried that he's not okay. like he is Q. I'm pretty sure he's Q. I watched the HBO special, but I'm pretty sure it was James.
So after reading that first trade, what's the lead character's name? The guy who's like trolling on the
I think
the message boards.
Mark something, yeah.
I feel like that's James.
Right.
Like, James has just like put himself in that that area, and this is what he does in his free time now, is just like, well, I gotta research this fucking random conspiracy theory to write this book.
Right.
And so it ends up being that character is him flowing through this world. I love that first, first 6 issues in the trade?
Yeah, it's so solid. I get people not loving the art, but, it's so good.
Once you get through like a couple issues, though, I can't imagine that book without the artist.
Right. And the movie will eventually be signed to a movie or TV show, and I think they're going to ruin it because I think it's too out there that they're not going to be able to figure. I think it's the same problem that American Gods has. Like, yeah, it's a great show, it's a great book, but like you need a lot to understand it. Like, and if you're not willing to do that work, you're not going to enjoy this. Same thing with the Sandman when they do Sandman. Like, you're not going to enjoy it if you don't do the extra work to really get into these guys' heads. Mm-hmm. So. Last Ronin, that was a big one this week.
Yes, it was.
Super happy with that series. This one was a little weird for me with the random Eastman art in flashbacks, but they did flashbacks earlier in the issue without Eastman. So
they did that in the last issue, but it was one coherent story with Eastman art.
Right.
And then this one, it just randomly goes to Eastman. I was like, okay.
Right. But there's flashbacks earlier in the issue that aren't Eastman. So it's so weird.
Yeah.
And
other than that, I like it.
And those are probably Eastman layouts. I wonder if, because he does all the layouts to everything, I wonder if those are just layouts.
Maybe.
And they just did it. So that was weird for me. Casey Jones was the most 90s Casey Jones I've ever read. He was more over the top than he's been in years. That was kind of fun.
It felt like the Casey Jones from the movie, like the old movies where he pulls out the cricket bat. He's like, well, let's try this out. I was like, that was literally just a nod to that movie. It had, like, there's no way they didn't do it that way.
Well, and the other one that's the sign where they're at, if you're a Deep Turtles guy like I am, there's a gang in the first run that they beat up to take over Bleecker Street, like called the Bleecker Street Gang. And they literally, the Turtles challenge them to a fight and win that street. So that was like a big nod to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 5. So like that one was big. Like I posted that on Instagram. I was like, I see you, Eastman. I see your deep cuts. I get it. Nobody else gets it, but I get it. But that was interesting, and it's good to see Funkatroid on, because I don't know, did you buy the director's cut?
No, I didn't.
So in the director's cut, you have the original script, and like the script is nothing what you've seen in the book so far, and you're like, so really you just stole Peter Lard's name in this to make it. All right, Eastman, I see you. This is the first time you actually see some of that plot in the book. That's in that director's cut, because none of it's in there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Funkatoid is a big deal in that little write-up. And that's all I got for indie, I think.
So I also, what came out this week, I read the Blue Flame #1, which is the Christopher Campbell
I got it, but I
book.
didn't read it yet. What'd you think?
I really liked it. It's
Okay.
So it's telling 2 parallel stories. The Blue Flame, one where he's in space, and it seems like that takes place more in the future, we'll say.
Right.
Where he's out in space, and he's patrolling, and he's doing this thing. And when that comes to a head, basically he's put in this place where he has to defend Earth's existence and humanity's existence to this alien race. And then kind of the parallel story is him back in Michigan, just like starting out. And it ends up being like there's a group of crime fighters, and this really, like, I got Deep Watchmen vibes.
Right.
Of just like, they're just a low-level crime fighting team, and then they end up going to a signing, and like all the interplay with the characters, like one of them is an obvious alcoholic, and
right.
A couple of them are dating, and all this other stuff. So there's fun little interplays got going there. I think the on-Earth relationship stuff, at least for this issue, didn't pull me in. Mm-hmm. But what's happening with this alien race and why he has to defend humanity and their right to exist got me on in this issue. So I'll be interested to see where that book goes moving forward.
Yeah, I'm excited about Vault doing a a full superhero book. So that's what intrigued me. I bought it. I just didn't get around to it. There was like 4 books that I didn't get to, and that was one of them.
And the art's phenomenal. I think it's the second page. They do like he runs into what looks like almost a supernova, and just the colors and how they design space in that image.
Right.
Where the blue flame is really tiny, but then everything around them is just so well designed. It's awesome. And then we talked about this last week on the show, but I read Death Transit Tanager, which is a book by, I should have the name ready.
I don't know anything about that book.
Sorry, bam. Carl Kirschler. And this is the book that he's doing online through his website, and you can sign up to be like a subscriber of his. And it's all black and white. It's done in almost this manga style. It really reminds me of like the designs and the characters of Metroid, if you played that game.
Yeah.
And what it seems like this character is basically helping this old man figure out what happened to him, and you're not really sure what happened to him, but they're kind of going on this little investigation. They go to this planet, they go down, and what we end up finding out is that she's really trying to help his soul get back to his body, and then moving his body to a location. Because in the end, he ends up asking, like, can I be buried on this planet with my daughter? And he fades back into the body. I thought it was a really cool story. I like the atmosphere, and I really like the art, so I'll be interested to see where we're going from that. And I'll be really interested to talk to Carl about that in a few weeks.
So is the goal to eventually go to print, or is it just online and you give them kind of like coffee money?
So right now, you can go on his website, read it for free. Right on his website, whatever. Or you can buy the PDF of it for, I think it's $3.99.
Okay.
And then there's also the option where you can subscribe for like $2, or you can even up it if you want. You can do whatever. And then he'll send you the PDF as they come out. So he told me that he's really kind of playing with what he can do and how he can do something independently without having to worry about all those things.
Right, sure.
And if it's successful and people like it, I'm sure at some point we'll see a print version of it. But right now he's just trying to get the story out there. And then Extreme was XCT, Extreme Champion Tournament, I think it was called.
Okay. Yeah, I like that book.
I ran into it randomly, and I picked up issues 0 and 1, and I shouldn't have picked up 0. I should have waited for 0, but issue 1 was really good. I like the whole idea of this gladiator arena and bringing people back from history to fight in this arena for people's entertainment. It's a really good book, and I believe it's an Australian creator.
Yeah, it's an Australian creator. He's actually the highest selling independent creator in Australia, believe it or not.
Cool. I got to pick up more of it. I think there's like 11 issues of it. 11 or 12?
It depends on the series. I think it goes in arcs of like 6, I think. And then there's a crossover with a game that he did, and then...
Yeah, I think the way I came into it was he's doing a new book on Kickstarter about Hercules.
I don't know. I'm normally pretty up to date with his stuff, so I don't know.
I think look up the 13th Labor. I think that's his book. That's probably how I came into it. And then I read volumes 1 and 2 of Sweet Tooth. You ever read Sweet Tooth?
Enough for the show?
I've been wanting to check it out. Big Lemire fan, so yeah, wanted to know what I was getting into with the show. This is a very awkward book to read in the COVID world.
Right.
It's all about a disease that takes over, kills most of humanity, and then when that happens, we also get these hybrid human-animal people, and that's who Sweet Tooth is one of these hybrids. Yeah. They directly name H1N1 and SARS, and that's when I got real awkward. But it's a really good book. I think Lemire's art lends to the story in a way that his art doesn't lend to everything.
Right.
And I'd be interested to move forward with it. And I think the series comes out next week, so we'll check that out too. But I will say, if people want to check it out there, check it out. But be warned, like it's very awkward in a COVID world.
Right.
And that, I believe, is everything I had. So, Travis.
Yes.
First of all, pimp out your shit, and then tell people where they can find you on the internet. Because I know you got something going on right now.
I didn't even mention it, but I've got a Kickstarter going right now. Voodoo Nations #2. We just got projects we love. We're fully funded. We're trying to get you guys some extra swag. So come check it out. It's about 2 missionaries go to Brazil. Meet with a badass voodoo priest. That guy kind of messes up their world. They try to escape him, go to New Orleans, and voodoo follows them. So we continue on and see what happens.
The first issue is really good.
Thanks.
Really good. Outside of that, where can people follow you online?
Jester Lou. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram there, or just follow me on Travis Gibb on Facebook. We got all sorts of cool stuff on brokedown4deadbodies.com. That's where you can find all the books and buy them, or you can find all of our books on Comixology. So,
and as always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Fortress Chris, the show at FortressComics_, and also our website, FortressComicNews.com. Remember, you're listening to us. We always appreciate reviews on whatever podcast you use, especially iTunes, and on YouTube to subscribe to our channel. And if you want to go the extra mile, patreon.com/FortressComics. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you all here next week.
bye.